I remember the cool thing to do was to hate Black and White too. And now it's
Yeah.
one of the most beloved games of all time.
Won't go that far. It's not Gen 1.
Oh, so true, bestie. I love Charizard.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the HGO podcast. I'm one of your hosts today, Ethan, and joining me, as always, are my good friends Kyle
Hello.
and Hunter. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just as well.
It's good to be here. I don't know what to say, to be honest. I'm jet lagged to hell and back, man. Like,
How was your trip, dude?
It was alright. It was fine.
Where'd
I
you
don't know
go?
what to. Where did I
Tell
go?
the fine people.
I don't know where I went, dude. I went to Germany.
Hell
I went to Berlin for a couple of days with some friends, and our alerts aren't working, so you know where to find us normally, video users. It's fine. But yeah, so I went to Berlin for a couple of days with some friends just to hang out, just to see the sights, see all the positive museums and stuff like that. You know, all that fun stuff. So yeah, we've just been around, hanging about. It was fun, but I'm also extremely tired because it was really busy. And my kind of thing is usually I just like stumbling into stuff. I like going somewhere, stumbling around, find whatever we want. And some of my friends are the exact opposite, where it's like, we need to do this. So it was just like a rolling march. It was a rolling march of like 3 days, and I'm tired. I slept
People
for like
with
9 hours.
itineraries. Ugh.
Not
The
even that. It was
worst.
just, we've got 12 things to do today. Get up, move. And I'm like, I can't do this.
I mean, usually I can be bothered to go with them still, but asking me to move with anything beyond a walk is not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's like I say, I had a blast. It was great, but I'm extremely tired. It was like, I think it was like something in the end of the day. It was like over the 3 days, it was something like 80k steps or something of just moving around. And I'm like, I've had enough. Yeah. And I think last night I came back, I slept early. I slept for like 12 hours and I still feel fatigued. So it's great. We'll catch up though. It's all good.
That's the spirit.
It's all good. But yeah, welcome back to the show, everybody, where we're here every week to talk about everything we love in the world of gaming. You can find us on podcast services everywhere. Just search for Hot Gamers Only, or go to youtube.com/Hot Gamers Only, where you can look at our stupid faces each and every week. Not much housekeeping this week. Obviously, Hunter's review did go up last week the week before technically now, for Final Fantasy 16. Thank you for the support on that, as always. Our reviews seem to be getting better and better, even if we do post them a month later than the game's release. So that's cool. Thank you for supporting. We appreciate it. And if you haven't checked it out there, go on. It's a good one.
Potentially a raincoat review coming soon.
Patent pending. We'll see what happens with that. Conflicted emotions all over that, but hey, we'll be here to talk about it. And yeah, obviously, it's still a bit of a drought. August is a bit of a drought. No, we're not playing Baldur's Gate 3. Do I feel like an idiot for saying nobody cares about Baldur's Gate 3, though? Oh, yes, I do.
I started listening to people
my
talk
God.
about it, and now I want to play it, and it's the worst because I don't really have the time. It comes to PlayStation when other games start coming out. I'm contractually obligated to buy Mortal Kombat. That's the real wrench in this right now.
Man, I love to be wrong though about something. We talked a couple of weeks ago on the podcast for context, and I was like, people, I think it was kind of funny. We're jokingly saying, is Baldur's Gate
Is it gonna be
Sony's
PlayStation
Sony's Starfield? And I'm like, no, you stupid idiots. And it still won't be Sony's Starfield. It'll just be a huge success on PC because that game's huge on PC. I'm sure it'll do great on PlayStation as well. But man, that game just kind of hit for a load of people. 700,000 players concurrent or something ridiculous like that.
Oh, you love to see it. I saw this funny clip of someone punting a squirrel into a tree. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it's bizarre how successful that game has been doing. But I'm very happy for the devs. I'm very happy that people seem to be enjoying it. We're not covering it because none of us are PC gamers really, so that's kind of out of our wheelhouse. But hey, who knows? If not on release, we may talk about it in the future after it's released on consoles.
Get to it someday for sure.
So yeah, look forward to that. But obviously, as we're still in a drought, there's still a couple of more topic episodes to go. But don't worry, as soon as September hits, we're to the grindstone for like 2 solid
doesn't stop
months,
for a
maybe
while.
3. as far as I'm aware, it will start with Starfield and all of that jazz and whatever else at the start of September, and will roll all the way to at least the Mario RPG remake and Persona 5 Tactica in the middle of November. So it's like we've got a long stretch of video games to come. So look forward to that. And hey, if you are
even
new
from
here,
like the end of
hit
August,
that follow.
you know, Armored Core 6 and Sea of Stars is coming out.
Okay, there you go. That's
So,
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that little game.
For what that's worth.
Yeah, I forgot about Armored Core coming out. Hey, there you go. There's so many games still to come this year that I'm just starting to forget them. But hey, we'll cover them all.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Armored Core, to me, like, I feel like that game's just coming out too early. I still feel like that should be like a November game.
You
But
see, I think they need
that's
to get
just
ahead
me.
because I think they need to get ahead of that shit because November. You've already got a couple of JRPGs
like,
with
it just
Mario
feels
RPG.
like it would hit the
Persona.
November slot, you know?
I think it's either now or December. It's one or the other. I don't think it hits that November. November's a terrible time because that's normie month. Call of Duty will probably show
I
up.
don't know why you're over here thinking that the niche mech game is gonna be in
I
the
don't know.
normie month. November is
No, it just
famously
feels like it, man.
It's famously normie month, but hey, guess who was born in November? The normie. It's great.
I was also born in November, and I've
The
always
normie.
Yeah.
Way. But hey, it's all good fun. Anyway, we're here today to talk about Backlog Games. We haven't done one of these in a while, so I thought, as we were trying to figure out what on earth we should actually talk about this week, that we'll just do a bit of an update. We're going to do roughly, I believe it'll be 12 video games from our backlogs that you need to play. So it's just a bit of a recap. We talk about new games all the time on this show. And usually, if you stay for the entire episode, which a lot of you do, which we do appreciate, the second half of our shows, most of the time, if there's a big topic, we'll be talking about smaller games or games that we've been talking about in the backlog. And most of the time, they don't really get the spotlight. So we're going to take games like that, new games that we haven't talked about on the podcast yet, and kind of shine a spotlight on them so that you can know what to add to your never-ending backlog. Or if they're already in your backlog, boost them up a bit, because these games are pretty damn good. I don't know who wants to start, because obviously we've got quite a bit to go through. We haven't written the list out, so I don't know what's on your guys's. Hopefully we don't have any dupes. That'd be funny, but I think we'll be fine.
That would be funny.
But I'll start with you, Hunter. Obviously, you get through so many games, so I feel like you've got at least a couple to talk about. So what do you have for us first up?
Oh, so right after I finished Raincoat the other day, Friday, yesterday, and all of today, I've been playing the Twisted Metal 1 and 2 got put up on the PSN to coincide with like the release of the Peacock show or whatever.
Can I just say, big, also talking about fucking surprises, Baldur's Gate 3 being as huge as it was, big surprise. That Twisted Metal show is apparently not terrible. What the fuck happened with that marketing?
Allegedly, but last week my friend was watching part of it, and the dialogue made me want to put my head through a window. So maybe I was just at a bad spot.
Literally, apparently, it currently. Oh my god! What, like, honestly, how? If you on Rotten Tomatoes, it currently has a critic score of 70 and an audience score of 94. I'm sorry, whoever did the marketing for Twisted Metal on Peacock deserves to be fired, because that was the worst marketing campaign I've ever seen on a show. And for it to not be, I do not believe for a second it's a 94, but for it to at least be not terrible,
yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? Like, why did you put the worst scenes in it? Anyway, good for PlayStation, I guess. Well done. You didn't fumble the bag with Twisted Metal. It'll be with whatever's next. But yeah, so the PS1 games are on PS Plus.
Yeah, the first two anyway. There's still like a myriad of them missing, but hey, people don't seem to like 3 and 4 anyhow. So I played a bit of both of them here. From what I can remember, I have like no memories of actually ever having hands on the controller for the first game at all. So that was a fun new experience. It was remembering how that game works, or how those games work in general, was an experience. I got absolutely mollywopped in the first level. Big old semi truck just drove towards me and continued to destroy me for ever. But so yeah, it's just a general kind of. It's funny because these games are almost structured similarly to like a fighting game. The way you have specific characters with their own special abilities go through a basically challenge ladder, except it's more of like a arena shooter, and then you get an ending at the end and all of that. I think they really hit their stride with 2 because they added a whole bunch of extra, a bunch of extra things that I wouldn't have expected them to be able to pull off for the time. To be honest, like you do a bunch of little fancy inputs with the D-pad, and suddenly you can freeze people or shoot backwards, which a bit overcomplicated to shoot backwards, and drop some mines and stuff. I think tonally and all that, I think too is where it really hit its stride as well. Very fun, kind of black comedy. Cool little motion comic presentation to it that worked better than the weird photographs of the real people that they were having model the characters in the first game.
Because you see, it's interesting because I never played Twisted Metal, and I don't know anyone that ever really did. I don't know if it just wasn't as popular in Europe as it was everywhere else. I mean, like
that is famously the case, actually.
Okay, I was going to say
domestically, it only ever really did well domestically.
Because I was going to say you can't even watch because Peacock isn't in Europe, so we can't even watch that Twisted Metal show if we wanted to, unless you want to go and sail the seven seas. So it's like I've just so to me it's like seeing all this Twisted Metal stuff and people be. I've always seen a lot of podcasts or a lot of YouTubers, particularly American YouTubers, who are like, they should bring back Twisted Metal, or they should do this, and I've always been sitting here being like, I've never heard anybody I've ever talked to talk about Twisted Metal, but people on the internet seem to love it, and that perfectly explains it to me that it just mustn't have been popular here.
Like, I remember 2 got a whole bunch of stink overseas because there's a level that takes place in Paris, and you can just famously destroy landmarks in 2, so you could just like knock down the Eiffel Tower, and it opens up.
I don't see a problem with that. I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah.
Kidding. But yeah.
So you know, it just offended people for the rest of the time that the series was running. It just never caught back on overseas. But you know, I still think it's a bunch of chaotic fun. Once I finally got the hang of it, I still think once I got my feeling for it back, and it's not like I spent untold numbers of hours playing this when I was like 4. I wasn't going to be able to retain any of that anyway, so I think overall the control still holds up respectably. It's not like the most. I'm not saying it like is the greatest aging thing in the world, but still playable. Still was fun. Stayed up to like 5 last night playing it.
My God,
that's crazy. But no, yeah, it's an interesting one. I definitely will need to check it out at some point because like it's very weird. It's very weird. It's got a very unique kind of aesthetic to it. It's got that kind of black comedy, even from the little bits of the TV show where people have been putting on Twitter because apparently everybody else has to do the marketing for that TV show. But it's just kind of that dark, kind of absurd humor to it, which is like extremely
like one of my
gruesome
favorite.
and
one of the things I always think about is specifically the endings in 2. Basically, the whole purpose of the contest is you win a wish from Calypso, who's basically a genie. He can just all powerful, whatever. And it's a monkey's paw thing, like, you know, careful what you wish for. One of my favorite endings is Hammerhead. These 2 dudes win the contest, and they're like, "We wish for the ability to fly," and he's like, "Yeah, sure." And they go and jump off the building they were on, and they're like, "Why aren't we flying?" And they fall to their death. And Calypso laughs at them. And he's like, "Oh, good thing these first class tickets are refundable." It's just absurd nonsense like that for when it's at its best.
Yeah. It's very absurd, and I say I'll just have to try it out. Like I say, it's a bizarre turn of events, to be honest. Not only is Twisted Metal apparently getting a reboot, there's going to be a new Twisted Metal game from the sounds of it as well. Why they ever made Destruction All Stars, I will never understand.
It's still a mystery to yeah, Destruction All Stars is legit like PlayStation's version of the whole Exo Primal thing, where people are like, "You already had one of these. Why'd you make this?"
Well, I should make a worse one.
And I do wonder if, because obviously the show seems to have had a positive reception. So I wonder if that will help the game, or will Destruction All Stars hinder the game? It's like we had one of these, we had a shit version of this. How can we trust you with Twisted Metal? Who knows? I'm hoping it's good.
I would love for
who
it to
knows?
turn out great, because
But apparently I won't be buying it because I'm not allowed.
The Europe tax.
They won't let me watch Anthony Mackie. It's a true tragedy. Who knows? Feels bad, man. Feels bad. But I'm glad you've been enjoying it. Like I say, I'll have to give it a try. I haven't really been paying too much attention to it. But hey, it's there. It's on PS Plus. It's on the premium tier. If you want to try it, you can just download it and play it.
Oh yeah, Black, the one on the PS2 is also just on the store for you to buy. It's weird that that's not included with all the other PS2 games that are
still baffles
in
me
the subscription.
It still baffles me that they haven't fixed their shit with PlayStation Premium. Why is there not a new PS2 emulator? Why aren't they starting to add PS2 games properly? I just don't understand it. But
yeah, it is weird.
It's money on the table. It's literally like
legit. Like, you know how many games from the PS2 you could sell at that little 10 spot for people?
How many times have people been asking for stuff like Simpsons Hit and Run Remastered or whatever, just to literally just make a PS2 emulator and just go and quickly run and get the license to that? Literally would print money for a lot of people or bump up a load of subscriptions. It's very stupid. And that's just one PS2 game. There are literally dozens of them that all have rabid fan bases just like that. But it's bizarre. But hey, you can at least play Twisted Metal 1 and 2, guys. There you go. Have fun. Was there a PSP game? You might get that one. Who knows?
Twisted Metal Head On.
You'll probably get that one then too.
Good work, Hunter.
Hunter is always full of the information that nobody else will ever know. So it's all good. Kyle, what's your first one on your list?
All right. So this week I bought Nioh 2. It's a Souls-like game, and I've really been enjoying it a lot. It takes place during the Oda Nobunaga era in Japanese history. And yeah, it's just a really fucking solid video game. Like, I know we've said on the show that like Bloodborne might be the best entry-level Souls game. I think this game, like, this one is also perfectly good to jump into the series too, or jump into Souls-like games with.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Like, I didn't play this one, but the other one, the first game, I played before I ever played more than 15 minutes of a From Software game. I thought it was plenty enjoyable.
I think the thing with this kind of formula is most of the time it's like Elden Ring's a bit different, but it's like I feel like I think Elden Ring's a good jumping in point regardless, because Elden Ring's Elden Ring, so people are going to have a conversation about that regardless. But it's like, you know, we always talk about Bloodborne, but that's just because that's where we hopped in. There were people that hopped in Dark Souls 1, and everyone will say, go and play Dark Souls 1 before you play the rest of them. Some freaks will say, go play Demon Souls before you go play the rest of them. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Some people will say play original Demon Souls instead of the remake. Don't do that either.
Those people are weirdos.
Yeah, just play the remake.
Stay away from them.
But, you know, I think there's plenty of entry points. I think there's plenty of Souls-like video games where there are plenty of people have had a crack at it, whether it's, like, you know, even this year, you have Lies of P coming out. You've had Wolong Fallen Dynasty come out. You have a lot of them, but it seems to me that the only one that, at least I can recall, that seems to have actually kind of gathered an audience that has kind of rallied behind it has been Nioh, and like with Nioh and Nioh 2, like everybody out there've been plenty of Souls games, but they kind of come and go.
Not from Soft game that has like stood out.
I think the biggest thing for me is that Nioh 2 has just felt more accessible than like a Bloodborne or an Elden Ring was, if only for the fact that it tells the player a lot more than FromSoft games ever would about how their game works. Like, for example, when you're pumping your souls into your stats, if you actually look on the menu and hover over the stats, there's a little box that tells you what weapon the stat is good for, so you can kind of like plan around the weapons that you're using, and you don't have to go to like 900 different external websites to be like, okay, which one's actually good, which one can I avoid. Game just tells you that right up front.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you go. Super, super helpful. And I also think it does like a pretty good job at easing the player in as well. The first mission is I think it's very doable. Anyone can play through it. There's a couple like the second and third bosses and Enray and the giant snake. I know those can be like those felt like the filter bosses where you're either going to beat those bosses or you're going to get walled by them and just give up on the game. But after those two, the game has just felt smooth sailing.
Nah, I definitely
not saying it isn't difficult, but it's not as hard as the beginning is.
And I mean, like me and Hunter was talking before the podcast because you were talking about playing Nioh 2. If you have had PS Plus for around a year or two, you by chance will have either one or both of these games already in your catalog because both Nioh 1 and 2 have been Plus games in the past. So I know I own both of them.
One is available for free.
Yeah, is one in the collection just a general?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So you have like multiple ways. It's either in the collection, or it was free on just regular PS Plus at one point because I have it in my library, and Nioh 2 was free at one point. So chances are you probably have one or the other, or one available to you to play.
Mm-hmm.
So again,
which weapons do you use?
I'm using dual swords and
that's the spirit.
Keeping that as my tried and true. I've been using that since the start. But my sub weapon or my second weapon, I've been switching around between the fists. I was using dual hatchets for a while. And cool. I finally settled. I don't remember what the weapon's called, but it's basically like a little mini sickle with
the Kurizagama.
Yeah, that with a little like chain ball at the end of it.
Yeah,
dude, that
cool.
thing.
I always
thing
love it when
breaks the game in half, dude. Like that thing just obliterates enemy stagger.
Yeah. I don't remember what our second weapon was, but dual swords was definitely the one we rolled with. Might have been like the Naginata or something. I don't remember, but
dude,
dual swords was great.
I think we went over this when we talked about Elden Ring a few months ago, but dual swords, that's my spirit weapon.
Hell yeah. So yeah, go and check it out. There's plenty of... I mean, Souls fans, you're ravenous enough, so you probably have checked it out. But if you are new to the genre and you want to check out
you don't mind getting your teeth kicked in a few times,
then hell yeah.
It's pretty good.
More power to you. Have fun. Knock yourself out. Literally. Anyway, I'm going to start. Looking at my list, I've got a lot of games that are more kind of indie-ish. More indie adjacent to my list. So I'll leave them for later because I know what you guys are like with your audience retention. Indie games, get them out of here. We want big boy games. And this is still not a big boy game. But I'm going to talk about it because I think my favorite game that I've played this year that isn't a game that came out this year is Yakuza 2. Yakuza 2 is fucking brilliant. And I'm like, if you've been keeping up with the podcast at any stage in the past year, you'll know that I played Yakuza Kiwami. We were talking about Persona 3 at one point. I can't remember. Was this in the season 1 or 2? It was one of the seasons. I was talking
about, yeah.
We were talking about Yakuza 0, and then I kind of took 2 years off, and then this year I was like, right, I need to start catching up a bit. So I played Yakuzas 1 and 2 back to back, and I really liked Yakuza 1. We have a fun podcast topic all about it a couple of months ago. We were talking about how Majima jumps up. Was it season 2 that was first one?
It was Majima Everywhere mode.
Yeah, Majima Everywhere. We were talking about him jumping out of manholes, jumping off of buildings, pretending to be a hostess at a club. So when you go into the club, he just pops out and is your hostess for the day. Just a load of random shit, which is a lot of fun. And then I played Yakuza 2, and I just think it's, like, from a story perspective, it's fantastic. From a gameplay perspective, it's probably one of the best kind of action brawler kind of games I've played. And my God, it's just everything about that game is just so damn good. It's one of those things where it's like, it was made after Yakuza 6, so it's like one of the most recent Yakuza games, because obviously, as of recording, Yakuza 8 is still not out, so neither is whatever it's called, like a Dragon Gaiden, Man That Erased His Name, or
his name.
whatever that's called. Neither of those are out yet. So really, this is like the second latest entry in the main Like a Dragon series now, I guess. And you really can tell because it's so damn crispy and good, and it just feels so good to play. And the story is just phenomenal. I never really understood the love for Yakuza. Like, I played Zero and I was like, cool, it's the 80s and it has this kind of tragic story, and Majim is really cool. I really like it. And there's some goofy ass shit that happens, and the side quests are bizarre. I love it. But the story I just kind of never really got into other than caring about characters. Whereas this one, I was like, no, I really like the dynamics that are in play here, and the way that all these characters are relating to the world, and just how everything... It feels like, and because in a lot of JRPGs, you just move from different universe to different universe per entry and stuff like that, but it just feels like a really connected world where it's still... They're the masters of recycling content, basically, where it's like you have the same maps as in Yakuza 0 and in Yakuza 1. Both of them are both in this, but they add new content and the worlds evolve because it's been decades or a couple of years. And it's just like everything just kind of feels like everything's just built on, and you just learn new stuff and everything adds on. And I'm just like, it's brilliant how they've been able to, at least with the first couple, be able to remake them and make it into a more consistent series as a whole. I wish they do it with 3. I started playing 3. It's really fucking old. Like, it's like, remake that one as well, please. But my god, yeah, Yakuza 2, it's fantastic. It's so good, I would go and platinum it if the Yakuza platinums weren't so shit. They're not fun. It's like, hey, do everything, smell every fucking thing on the map, and play it on the hardest difficulty again after you're done. Not about it.
Sage.
It was like Final Fantasy 16. I thought
he learned his lesson from FF16, yeah.
That was a sunk cost, yeah. But no, go and check out the Yakuza series. Play either 0 or 2, in my opinion. 1's good too. Don't play 3, at least not for the start. But yeah, it's very good. Anyway, back to you, Hunter. What have you got next on your list?
Alrighty, so I managed to squeak this one out right before Zelda earlier this year. Professor Layton, The Curious Village, I managed to play because, that One Direct announced a new one. I'm like, I've always been kind of interested in these games. And as it turns out, very interesting world. I really like Professor Layton, the character. I think is dynamic with his apprentice kid is cool. And I thought the general vibe of the Curious Village and its denizens was neat. The puzzles and stuff, a bit nerdier than I was expecting it to be. I was like, oh.
In what regard?
It's like academic logic puzzles and stuff.
Oh no.
Yeah, like the
I'm loading my file up now because I genuinely have been playing it myself.
I'm trying to remember what like the old, like the animals on the shore of the thing, and you got the raft.
Yeah. You gotta get the wolves and the sheep. The wolves and the sheep.
Yeah, the wolves and the sheep across the river without them eating without the wolves eating the sheep or whatever. Is that kind of puzzle.
I hated that puzzle as a kid. Here's my experience with Layton is I had Professor Layton 1, The Curious Village. I had it on DS when I was a kid. And my parents loved it because whenever a puzzle came up and I didn't know what to do, or I couldn't figure it out, my parents, it was always like a good fun for them because it's kind of like a brain age puzzle basically every time, where it's like an actual logic puzzle behind every kind of mystery. So I never got through to it, and then when they announced a new one, I was like, oh, they're on mobile. They released Curious Village. They released the first 3 on, at least, maybe even 4. I don't know. At least 1 through 3 are all on mobile. So I was like, oh, sick. So I went on the App Store and downloaded Curious Village, and I played about 3 hours of it. Turns out I'm not a mobile gamer. That's my main point. So I put like 3 hours into it. But I really like the way the gameplay loop of Layton, it very much just is kind of a visual novel where you just click on some things and it goes, can you solve the puzzle?
Or if you just so much as talk to somebody, they make you prove your worth by solving their silly puzzles. It was hilarious. I'm just like, Could somebody please just hand me like breakfast or something without asking me for please? But overall, it was still fun as far as that's concerned. It was always like I guess I was never playing it with the mindset of yes, I really want to solve these nerd book puzzles, but also I still got past that anyway. I was worried that because I wasn't really in the mood to be solving those and whatnot, it was kind of put my brain on stun. So I was sitting there thinking I wouldn't be able to actually like solve the mystery of the game, which is what I usually go to these mystery games to do. I still did that, so it didn't scramble my brains enough.
Yeah, my 3 hours I did
Dang it, Rafa
57
can't do
puzzles.
it. You can't.
57 puzzles in 3 hours I
57
did, like
puzzles,
something
yeah.
like that. Ridiculous. But no, I really like the kind of loop of Layton. I also like the puzzle kind of solving element to it, especially when you think about where it came from, the DS. It's like it's the perfect kind of DS game.
Yeah, it makes
For people who like
sense
video games and
that
also for
way.
people who don't. Because I've heard the puzzles the later in the series get a bit more kind of gamey with it.
Oh, cool.
But to me, I kind of like it. I need to get back and finish it at some point.
I mean, yeah, overall, I was happy I stuck with it. Eventually, like late game, they start giving you a bunch of the little slidey puzzles. You just gotta get thing and slide stuff around and get it to an exit. I'm like, sick, I can do this all day. And like, I think that the overall mystery had a really cool payoff. I was like, so that would have been the most disappointing thing, to be like not super into the beginning puzzles and whatnot, and then for the story to be like shoulder shrug inducing. But I thought it was overall pretty cool.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what the new Layton is and what it does and stuff like that, especially with it being, you assume, a Nintendo Switch game, or a Nintendo Switch 2 game. Who knows what it is? But you know, it's going to be interesting because it's like all the other Layton games, including whatever it was, Katrina's Mystery Journal, or whatever it was, the spin-off game that they did a couple of years ago. I believe it came to Switch, but it was made for phones initially. So it's like, I'm very interested to see what a console Layton game kind of looks like, especially because so many of the puzzles and stuff is all to do with touch and things like that. I'm like, I'm hoping they come up with
I
a
had
fun...
it on an emulator, and it was funny because I had a controller plugged in, and I'm like, well, this is kind of pointless actually.
Yeah.
When I realized how much of it is just moving the mouse and clicking on things, I'm like, cool, I don't actually need this. Whatever.
It'll be interesting.
I will be fascinated to see the new one. I'll be fascinated to get through the rest of the series at some stage.
It's a long one. It's like I say, 6 games.
Yeah,
So
there's like 6 games.
yeah. But Curious Village, like I say, you can play it on the original hardware. There is a mobile version of it. The mobile version is pretty good. It's just I'm not inclined to play mobile video games. I don't like playing games on my phone, so I get easily distracted. But it's a really good port, is what I'm trying to say, because it keeps everything intact. It still has the 2 screens and everything like that, so it doesn't jeopardize anything. And they added some things to it as well. So,
nice.
It's a good port. So, play it on phone, play it on DS, play it wherever you want. It's a good one. Kyle, what have you got next?
So speaking of DS games, I've been replaying Pokemon White 2. This game came out 10 years ago. Can you believe it?
Oh man,
it came out
I think it's
nearly 11 years ago. It was
Yeah.
2012.
I remember when Generation
I'm like, yeah, that's
5 was the
2012.
new one.
Oh man.
I remember buying this game in a shop. I can't remember. I think it was like a Tesco or something. It wasn't like an actual game store. It was just like I was in a just regular kind of high street shop, kind of like a Walmart basically. And I was like, I just saw it and I was like, oh, new Pokemon's out, cool. I have some spare money or whatever, and I was just like, yeah. I had some spare pocket money or whatever, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll buy it. And then everyone infamously knows I never finished this game and I never got fucking close. But
correct.
It's 11 years old. Happy birthday.
But yeah, I haven't played this game since I beat it the first time when it came out, and going back to it after somewhat recently playing Pokemon White 1, played that like 4 or 5 years ago. I gotta say, it does a really good job of continuing where the story of White 1 left off and picking up
Mm.
2 years later, seeing how the world changed and how, like, the split between the Team Plasma factions, the old and the new. It's really interesting. And the game still looks fucking gorgeous. Pokemon never should have moved away from sprite work. Where's my water? It's down here.
Well, I think the problem is I still stand by. I still like the way that Gen 6 and 7 look for a handheld game. I think the problem is that they kept the handheld designs into Gen 8 and 9 and never actually went to console quality. This is the problem.
Yeah.
But there's something about the work of Gen 5, like the artwork, the sprite work, that just is uncontested, really, to be honest. It's a beautiful looking game. And I think my problem with Black and White 2 is more of just time and play. So I was fatigued of Pokemon. That was when I was kind of done with the franchise and needed the kind of 3D switch up that came with X and Y, because I was just kind of fatigued. Because, you know, it does a really great job. It adds a couple of new places to explore. It doesn't do what it's a better idea of what other games try to do in the future, right? You know, it's like Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, fucking awful video games. And it's just like I hated that Pokemon then, after making an enhanced version of 2 Pokemon games, to then in future times like Ultra Sun and Moon, to then not do that. Instead, like it feels like a step down in many ways. Or even, like you say, with Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and more an extent Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, bringing games back, they never really took that time and quality to ever go, okay, let's re-envision this. It's just a fucking plop and remove shit. But yeah, there's something I mean, people love Black and White too. Pokemon fans, if they grew up with
remember
it,
when it was the cool thing to do was to hate Black and White too.
Yeah, but
now,
it was like
11 years later,
Was that when it was new?
it's one of the most beloved games of all time. Ain't it funny how that works?
Won't go that fucking far. Fucking far.
One of the best in the franchise.
There you go. Well, that's more like it. It's not Gen 1.
Oh, so true, bestie.
But no.
Gen 1 great.
Gen 1 great.
Love Charizard.
Yeah.
Charizard's the best. It's also got Bulbasaur. He's pretty cool.
The only con I'll ever give Gen 5 is I still do not like Unova. I don't like Unova. It's such a boring world. In terms of like, hey guys, we have New York, we have desert. Thank you for coming. We have harbor.
I love the Pennsylvania desert. It's my favorite.
I think Black and White 2 do a better job of expanding Unova than the first games did. The first games was just going through the motions. Second games definitely do a better job of fleshing out the world.
100%, but I feel like it's interesting because I feel like a lot of Pokemon lore and history in terms of regions is always based off of their real world counterparts, right? So there's plenty for Gen 1 and 4, there's plenty of Japanese history to take inspiration from. And even places like you know, Gala, even though I don't 100% love the way that they did the wild area and stuff like that, they could take a lot of British history and kind of weave that into the tapestry. Same with Gen 6 with France, they could do something like that, and I really love the way that they did Gen 6. And then Gen 5, it's like America is a more recent country, so it's like they have stuff to work with, but it's not like the most wide history available. So it's like, hey, we have New York, we have
stuff that wouldn't really translate into Pokemon very well.
Definitely wouldn't.
Thinking about like the mythology side of it, because
should have taken the desert and put it more to the west part of the map and made it like
instead of
Cowboys.
Above New York.
They made it like Cowboy Town.
Well, that's the thing is they kind of just had to go with, hey, what do we have in America? What does America have? And it's like, well, they have New York City, and it's like, well, okay, we'll make a New York counterpart. It's like, what else do they have? They have
White 2. They gave us PokeStar Studios. Which
they
is
gave you
like
Hollywood,
Los Angeles, Hollywood. Yeah,
we got Hollywood, like epic. Anything else? There's a desert somewhere. We got it, boys. We got it. But you know, it's even with Alola. I fucking hate Alola as a design of a region, right? But there's plenty there's plenty of lore and stuff that they could take from Hawaii and the islands and translate it into Pokemon lore, and I think that's my main problem with Gen 5 is as Unova is just it just kind of feels like, hey, we wanted to do America, let's just kind of put a few landmarks and call it a day compared to other generations. But in terms of like the actual game story, it's one of the best, which is why it kind of balances it out in a way. But no, I'd like to give Black and White 2 a chance again someday.
You should.
Who knows? I should, but also
now that you've had some time away from Pokemon.
I've not had time away. It's been less than 10 months, dude. Like it was November last year.
So now that you've had some time away from good Pokemon.
I liked the last game.
I did like the last game.
It's still like my third least favorite generation.
Gen 9 is above Gen 7, and it's above Gen... maybe Gen 8. And maybe it might still be above Gen 5. I did have more fun than Gen 5, to be honest, but that's just a personal contrarian pick.
Yeah.
But hey, if you haven't played Black and White 2, go play Black and White 2. I'm still surprised they haven't... I know that the DS emulation's fucking stupid, but just get them on Nintendo Switch. Who cares? Play them in portable. Tap your ass off. Who cares? Boo, 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 boo. Who gives a shit? Put them on there. I'm still shocked. Like, I know Pokemon is sacred to Game Freak or whatever. Get the fucking GBA games on Nintendo Switch Online, then I'll buy the stupid membership. It's that easy. It's that fucking easy. You guys go raw Fire Red, and I go, yep, there you go. There's the extra fucking whatever, $30 a year.
Here you go.
I don't care.
Make it Pokemon home compatible. That shit's gonna print money.
Yeah. Or don't, and it'll still print money regardless.
Or don't. Yeah, that's true.
Pokemon fans are rabid.
You slap Pokemon on anything and it'll print money.
True.
Cool. Okay. Next up on my list is a PS5 launch game, which I did talk about a little bit on the podcast. No, it's another platformer though. It was Sackboy, A Big Adventure. It kind of got left in the dust at launch because of, obviously, you had Spider-Man, Miles Morales, you had Astro's Playroom, you had Demon's Souls, and there was a fourth PlayStation exclusive, like Sony-developed game that came out on that day, and it was Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and that's the one that kind of took a plummet because it was a $70 video game, and, like, you know, Miles was cheaper, Astrobot was free, and Demon's Souls was the big shiny thing, right? So it's like that one just kind of took a seat. And it's a real shame because it's one of the best 3D platformers I've played in recent memory. It's a very good video game. It basically took inspiration from Mario 3D World and basically said, hey, what if we make a new Mario 3D World? And I was like, yes, please, thank you. It's fantastic. It genuinely is. It's also on PS Extra if you're that way inclined, and it was on PS Essential if you were that way inclined as well. So you probably have it in your library if you're a PlayStation owner. But it's so damn good. It just really is. It's just it feels really good. It has a really good balance between fun and challenging platforming puzzles. There's this whole side quest basically, which is like you've got this kind of, it's like the equivalent of like the final Mario Bros, the final Mario level in like 3D World, right? Where you've got like this super intimidating gauntlet and you've got like these 12 challenges which are like test your platforming prowess. So you do all 12 of them, and if you do all 12 of them, you then find out that they're actually just 12 chunks of an entire level, which is the gauntlet. So you have to run them all in one go as like the final challenge, which is a lot of fun. And I hated my life when I was doing it. It took me like 3.5 hours because I was trying too hard. That was my problem. I was trying to hit a certain time. You have to hit it in like 6 minutes or whatever. And I was trying my hardest. Yeah, and then I find out it does what a lot of Mario levels do or whatever, where it gives you a load of time back at the end, and I didn't realize that, so I was just trying to make the cut specifically, and then ended up trying way too hard. But other than that, it's really good. It supports co-op, switch in and out co-op. It supports online co-op. as well, so you can do that with your friends, whether they're locally or wherever they are. But it's just really damn good, and it's got a great soundtrack, and yeah, it really is good. It's on Steam as well. Just go play it. It's very good. It has a couple of levels which are based on actual songs, which are weird. I remember Uptown Funk as one of them, but you
Is
know,
it like
it's
the
like
Rayman Legends
yeah,
music
kind of like the
levels?
it's got the Rayman
Damn.
Legends music levels in it. I'm just trying to remember what some of the songs were. I know that Uptown Funk was one of them, but it's like um, Uptown Funk, yeah, Jungle Boogie, Let's Dance by David Bowie, Toxic by Britney Spears. That
Oh my
one was
god.
fucking sick. That one was sick, to be fair. But it has a lot of yeah, it just has a lot of really fun levels to it. It's really good. Go play it. It's a very good video game.
Dude, I don't think anything will ever top the Black Betty music level from Rayman Legends.
It
That
won't.
shit was so cool.
It won't. But yeah, and there's some very good ones in that one as well. So yeah, go and do it. Go and check it out. Like I say, you can probably play it for free if you have PS Plus. So go check it out. Hunter, what's next for you?
So this one's actually a bit more current, but I didn't talk about it when it came out, and I'm pretty sure I was also a month or two late to it anyway. Halls of Torment was this fun little vampire survivors type of game that people started paying attention to during the summer. Essentially, it's like Vampire Survivors, the whole horde mode, for 30 minutes, hoopla through the lens of like old Diablo is the aesthetic it was going for. And I think it was pretty cool. I don't even have very much of an attachment to Diablo, but this game also had a plague doctor with a flamethrower, so you know, satisfied me enough. It achieves all the same things that Vampire Survivors does for satisfying the stupid little goblin brain gamer stuff, where you kill the things, get the big numbers, everything dies with very little input for you, and you find treasure boxes with obnoxious amounts of loot and drops and whatnot in it, all while stacking up more abilities to make yourself even more overpowered to eventually hit the goal of winning without your own input. Is essentially the best possible result at the end. I think for me, maybe it's just because I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with Vampire Survivors because the Game Pass subscription was up by the time before I could put a whole lot into it. But it seems like they had a bit more mechanics going on and like the just a bit more systems in general. Like there were things you could go do during your time in the level that could weaken the boss that you have to fight at the end. Vampire Survivors didn't even have a boss at the end, so there's that. It did a pretty good mix-up of things with the people that the people that you can unlock too. Plague Doctor, flamethrower guy was really cool. There's a sorceress who like shoots lightning and stuff, and that was a very, very fun ability to max out as far as like you shoot the lightning and it chains into other things, and when they start getting real obnoxious with the waves, you just see the lightning arc through everybody, and it's really cool. Yeah, and so on and so forth with that. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I don't know. I'll probably still play Vampire Survivors more once it comes to like a console, because this seems to be. I don't know. I have a harder time imagining this one coming to console, just because it seems to appeal more to PC nerds in general. As far as like that's where Diablo was. That's kind of the market it's hitting on in the first place. There's no reason it couldn't come to consoles, but
I mean, this is the one that I've seen Sam playing quite a bit. So people seem to like it, at least. So, gosh, there's been a lot of these lately, but I'm glad that people are liking them. So yeah, check it out if you haven't done so already. Kyle.
All right, so we've been pretty positive so far.
We've
played a lot of good video games in our backlog.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, sometimes there are some stinkers.
No, oh, fuck.
And what?
Get it over with. You're gonna say
What are you
Sonic
moaning and
Mania. I
groaning
know what you're gonna
about?
say. You're gonna say Sonic Mania because it's been stuck at the fucking bottom of our spreadsheet for the past fucking 3 years.
Well, now we can finally get rid of it.
Great. So
Hey, man.
okay, everybody. So
I'd like to remind you, you gave me permission to talk about this.
I did give you permission, but
So,
I thought you were going to
before
frame
you
it in a
start
positive.
bitching-
No. I thought you were going to frame it in a positive mindset of just like, I don't like
No.
Sonic Mania, not let's talk about trash. I didn't think that's what we were going with. I thought we were going with, you know what, guys? I'm not a Sonic guy, so I don't really like Sonic Mania that much. Not a poo-poo stinky bad. Like, no. Like go on. Pop off, King. Why'd you hate fun, Kyle? Why'd you hate fun?
Because Sonic Mania is not fun. Sonic doesn't have good level design. 2D or 3D. It's just miserable to play. So I got this game back. I played through this game back in April of 2022. Because around that time, my friend and I, we were picking up like cheap, short games we could race in a night, get it over and done with. And somehow we settled on Sonic Mania. I'm like, yeah, I've heard good things about this. I'll give it a shot. Haven't played a 2D Sonic game since Sonic 2 on the Genesis.
You had a Genesis?
I didn't have a Genesis, but I did have a Wii, which had
Oh, I
Genesis
see.
games on it.
Okay.
And yeah, Sonic Mania really did not hit with me. I honestly, like, Sonic fans, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you put up with Sonic level design over and over again. It's like in a game that whose selling point is speed, breakneck speeds. Why do they just shove random shit in the middle of your path? Be like, oh, goodbye, momentum.
Well, you gotta jump over it.
Yeah.
You
Well,
need something. You need something to make
shit
it not
you
just
can't
a straight
possibly
line.
know about.
Yeah, but you can say that like you can say that about Donkey Kong as well. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm not defending Donkey Kong level design either.
I think with Sonic, it's just like I think the fun of 2D Sonic is learning your route and kind of getting used to it. Yeah, like Sonic
Kinda
design
like
has
learning
always
a
been
rhythm to it. I suspect.
Sonic levels have always kind of been like kind of maze like and kind of we have multiple vertical levels for you to pass through and different ways to get about doing things. And I think it's just kind of finding your own rhythm in a way of trying to figure out everything. I think that's why Sonic fans love Sonic games so much, is because they play them that much that they just know every level in and out and how to best play them. And you know, I've not played much Sonic myself, to be honest. I've dabbled with Mania a tiny bit. I've dabbled with some of the older ones, like Sonic 1, but I've never really got into them that much. But I've never really been like, this is slow. I'm terrible. Like, this is terrible. It's more usually, I'm being slow. I'm terrible at this. Like, because I've seen other people play them and nail them. So I usually chalk it down to skill issue.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But no, I mean,
You
I
gonna
think
pick
the
up
thing
that
about
new one that's coming out this year?
oh, whatever
Probably
it's
not.
called, Sonic. Oh fuck, I don't remember what it's called. I think the thing that's about
I
Sonic
picked
Mania
it up for
that,
Fantasy Draft. That was enough for me.
I think the thing about Sonic Mania that's always been impressive to me is it was a game made by fans for fans. Is the thing that is
Yeah.
kind of, especially when you look at Sonic Team that was making actual terrible games like Sonic Forces and everything else that they'd released in recent times. You know, they'd not made anything good really. Even Generations, people always lauded Generations, and I don't think Generations is a good video game either. To be honest, I think the dash
You think
mechanics.
It was just we'll take what we can get for now.
They got a decent thing, and they were like, "Yes, this is perfection." I'm like, "No, you've just got something decent again. It's fine." I think Dash 3D Sonic is so boring because it is just straight, like it's just a straight line. You hold the R2, and it's got some fancy effects on it. I'm like, "Wow, this is riveting." But you know, I think Christian Whitehead and all the people that worked on Sonic Mania, it was a love letter to fans, for fans by fans, and I feel like if you don't like Sonic, you're not gonna like Sonic Mania. That wasn't their intention. the game for people who wanted to get into Sonic was supposed to be Sonic Forces. I think that Mania was this little side project. Yeah, and how badly did that turn out? But hey, like I say, Sonic Mania, it's been free in places. You can check that out. If you like Sonic,
like
you'll
in
like
my
Sonic Mania.
PlayStation library somewhere. I think
It's in my PlayStation library as well.
Level, even out of curiosity, it's one of those things where, just like, I don't know, I'm too much of a nerd to go through all of my life without ever playing one of these games. So I'm gonna play like one of them. I'm gonna play like probably a 2D Sonic game and then a 3D Sonic game at least at one point in my life, just so I can say that I did it.
I've already played a 3D Sonic game in my life, so.
So have I.
I've not done that.
Which one did you play, Ethan?
Heroes.
Nice.
Yeah, only Sonic game I've ever owned is Heroes. Other than obviously later on, I owned Mania, and I've played a couple of the old ones. But in terms of physical copies, I only have Sonic Heroes.
Mm-mm.
Sad day. It's the PS2 version as well, so it wasn't very good. I had fun though, and that's all that matters.
Heck yeah.
And yeah. Moving on. Anyway, the Pathless. I talked about this
I
tiny
played
bit.
this last year. Nice.
Is this on your list?
No, I didn't have it
Well, there you go,
marked down as something I would talk about, but I do have experience with the game.
But yeah, the Pathless is a video game that was it's made by some of the people who worked on Journey. It's not the same company.
Squid.
It's people who went off to make their own studio, and it's also composed by the person that did compose Journey, Austin Wintory.
Yeah, Austin Wintory.
He's a fantastic composer. But no, the Pathless is a game where you shoot arrows and go really fast.
Good stuff.
And it's a very good game. It's a very satisfying game. And I'm happy that I picked it up. You essentially are trying to you're basically trying to tame basically the gods of this world. You're trying to basically tame their kind of spirits and ascend. It's a very Journey kind of game. It's a very Journey kind of game. If you've played one of these kind of games like Journey or Abzu or something like that, you've played one of these. It just has a tiny bit more kind of mechanics to it. It has a bit more kind of it has more gameplay essentially. You've got this bow and arrow. You've got these kind of higher platforming elements, and there's a load of little side opportunities that you can do and a load of collectibles to find. It's just a very chill game.
Puzzles and stuff
that
you can solve.
But I played this earlier this year and I had a great time. I have it physically actually, because just it was just I was looking around and it was on sale for like £11 or something physically, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'll pick that up. I've heard good things, and it is a very good game, and I can't wait for that next one that they're working on. I can't remember.
Sword of the Sea.
Sword of the Sea.
That one looks sick. I can't wait for that one.
Journey Pro Skater.
They took Journey, and then they were like, "Oh, let's throw the Abzu water stuff on it too." And I'm like, "Ooh, with a sword that you skate on."
Yeah,
it's super sweet. But yeah, the movement in the Pathless is a lot of fun when you can get it going. I found it kind of like a little aggravating to get back into it when you get stopped or whatever, but that's just how those things kind of go.
Yeah, I had a couple of like little nicks with it, a couple of little issues, but all in all, I had a good time, and that's all that really matters. And you're always going to when you get these games made by really small teams, you're going to have a couple of bits that you kind of either don't work in the way you intend, you feel like they should work, or you might have a little couple of issues with it. But all in all, I had a blast. And yeah, you should definitely check it out. It always goes on sale every now and again. So if you
it's one of those forever sale games.
If you have the opportunity to play it, go and do so. I guess it's back to you, Hunter.
Alrighty, well, I suppose I'll throw this over to. I spent the first couple of months of the year trying and being perpetually sidetracked from playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order in preparation of Jedi Survivor. I eventually did get to it before Survivor came out, and I'm glad I did, because, once I finally sat down and got to play this end to end, it was pretty good. Like I've said before, made mention of, Cal Kestis, perhaps my favorite Jedi in general.
He is my favorite Jedi, because Jedis fucking suck. They're the worst part of
yeah, basically. Most of them are not great.
All my
And
favorite Star Wars characters aren't Jedi, so
yeah, most of mine are the bad guys. But yeah, but I think this game was a pretty solid starting point for this series. They improved upon it later, but the stuff they had going for it here with Cal and his journey was arguably more personal in this one, and I thought it was really good, all things considered. They managed to do the kind of Diet Dark Souls thing pretty respectably.
Diet
It's
Dark Souls.
because it was kind of like that, the way
How dare you?
killed
How dare you embarrass whatever his name is, Ogdo Bogdo, or whatever his flipping name is, that frog.
Oh, that thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of how it works. Everything you kill stays dead until you rest at a checkpoint and
Oh
whatnot.
my god, it is Ogdo Bogdo.
Oh my god.
I
knew it was just random O syllables.
I
couldn't
knew it
remember what the
sounded like that,
details.
but I don't think I actually got it right. Oh well, there you go.
But yeah, so gameplay wise, it does that respectably enough. I got a good feel for it. Once I got the double-sided lightsaber with its overpowered helicopter spin move, it was game over for everybody after that. But as far as the rest of the game goes, I wasn't expecting to like all of the characters as much as I did, and then about halfway through, I'm like, oh shoot, I like this Grease guy. He's cool. And all of that, and Cal, as mentioned before, very well performed by Cameron Monaghan. Even the character that they got joining the group towards the end of the game, I liked a lot for all the more screen time that she got.
Yeah. No, I really liked Jedi. I don't like it as much as most people liked it, because I remember when it came out, everybody was like, "Hey, game of the year contender." I'm like, I didn't like that much.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but I still think it's really good.
Yeah, there's plenty of criticism that I have. Some of them went over to the sequel, like the stupid map.
Oh yeah, that map sucks.
Why?
Learning how to get around, it was not the first level after the tutorial with where you find BD or whatever, but the one after that. Was that Zepho, I think?
It's the windy planet, yeah, Zepho.
Yeah, the windy and the
awful level design. That level is awfully designed from that map's perspective. I feel like they built the map UI based on the first planet with the temple, and then maybe even with what's it called? Ewok Land. I'm not a Star Wars fan. Endor. Thank you.
Endor wasn't in the game. You're thinking of Kashyyyk.
Is it this? Oh, is it not true? Is it? Oh, it's Wookiee planet, isn't it? It's not Ewok planet.
It's Wookiee planet.
I'm sorry, guys. Fake Star Wars fan. Only kidding. I'm not a Star Wars fan.
Fake Star Wars hater.
Fake Star Wars hate.
Can't I don't hate properly.
I'm a Star Wars indifferencer, dude. Get it right.
Which means you probably like it more than a lot of people who claim to be fans.
Yeah.
I thought The Last Jedi wasn't that bad.
I thought it was pretty good, decent. Actually.
Yeah, it's the best of the sequel trilogy, and it's not close.
Sure is. I still think it needs the launch of the prequels too.
Yeah, but yeah, that level was also fine. But man, that map sucks. It's just there's little bits and pieces, but you expect that from a PS4 game, and you expect it from the sequel, also a PS4 game apparently.
Yeah, it was soon to be.
And on Xbox One, something that Resi 4 Remake couldn't do.
It was the silliest bit of news that came out this past week. It was Star Wars Jedi Survivors coming out on the old systems. It made me giggle.
I just don't get it. I just don't get it. It's like
you didn't make it work on the new systems.
You fucked that part up, and then also I feel like this year is finally the year where PS5 is getting a price drop. There's the rumors that the quote unquote not slim models coming
off of the old generation, right?
Xbox has stopped manufacturing Series 1Xs and 1Ss now. The Xbox One is done. They've stopped development of it everywhere. So it's why are we now going, one more run, guys? Jedi Survivor, one more trip round to the PS4. It sounds like a terrible idea. The only thing
maybe,
is,
maybe what it's gonna be is they're just gonna take the game as it exists now and put it on the PlayStation 4, and the fixed version will be the PS5 version when they fix it.
Well, you see, here's my. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for my mind game? This is my 3D big brain chess playing prediction right here. Is one, not only will the PS4, if the PS4 version, they just unlock the frame rate so you can have a good PS5 version, that'd be pretty epic. But two, what if they're porting it to previous gen, so then it's an easier step to then port it to whatever the Nintendo successor is? That would be my kind of, hey, we could then port both of them over to the next Nintendo thing, which which I am sure will still be less powerful than a PS4, even though it's definitely possible for it to be powerful enough now, Nintendo. But, you know, I digress.
Find a way.
But I feel like that's more of the play. Everyone's going, PS4, haha, funny. I'm like, it's probably to do with whatever the next Switch is. Like, rumors came out this week that seem to be true that dev kits are starting to go out. So who knows?
So maybe in the next year, game journals can finally shut up about a Switch 2.
Joke's on you, because
for a year, because then they're gonna start talking about a third one.
Next year, you're going to hate next year, because next year's going to be talk about the Switch 2 and the PS5 Pro for 90% of it. So it's going to be Hunter's favourite year next year.
I hate this cycle of nonsense.
Hey, at least Xbox seems to just be like, yeah, we're just going to stay with the Xbox Series X. That is our mid-gen refresh.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, stop asking for more of these things.
Dude, I
it's
can't
stupid.
Wait. Like I said, I can't wait to be a sucker and go, yeah, you know what, PS5 Pro, I'll buy a PS5 Pro, and then never notice the difference anyway, because I never will. It's great. It'll be fun.
Jim Ryan could like kick down my door and threaten to stab me in the hands unless I buy a PlayStation 5 Pro. And I'd be like, fine, I'm not buying it, you stupid clown.
My hands are yours.
I do want to emphasize, I'm not buying a PS5 Pro because I'm like, I really want that boost. It'll just be, by the time it gets to a year, I will probably need a second PS5 if I'm moving, or if I want to keep one here or something like that. I'll be like, hey, I need a second one.
Like,
might as well get a Pro.
PlayStation doesn't have the benefit of something like Zelda, where it's like, if you can only play this if you get the new one. Like, if that would have been the case for Tears of the Kingdom and the Switch 2, then fine, I would have bought it very begrudgingly. But PlayStation, unfortunately, as much as I like their games, none of them are on the level that will just move me an entire console.
What do you mean, dude? I can't wait to play whatever. I can't even remember the name. And that's what I'm saying.
Twisted Metal.
Not Twisted Metal. Wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking of Helldivers 2. That was what I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait to play that. I was like, I can't wait to, and then I was like, quickly, Ethan, go to the next PlayStation exclusive releasing, and then I realized it was Spider-Man. I went, oh no, wait, that one would have been one that I would have bought a PS5 for if I didn't have one already. Oopsie. But no. Anyway, no. Jedi Survivor. It's a good game. You should play it. Maybe one day I'll get around to playing it. I put Jedi Survivor in the notes. It's not. It's Fallen Order.
Yeah, Fallen Order. Good game. I'm glad I got around to it.
Play Fallen Order. Jedi Survivor is also available. Maybe one day I'll play it. I bought it for full price. Still haven't played it. Wonder how much it's worth now.
I tried to play Fallen Order earlier this year also. I think it was around the same time you were playing it, Hunter.
Yeah, it was free on Plus.
Yeah, I did the tutorial and then never went back.
It gets better after that.
Well, I just didn't feel like playing more of it. Oh well. Ethan. What about you?
Oh, me?
Yeah,
you only had 3, didn't you?
Right.
I was just trying to figure out how much money I wasted on Star Wars. I was trying to see if it was on sale. God. It's not. I'm still feeling good.
Don't think about it like that, dude. That's not healthy.
Yeah, but here's the thing is, I'm usually a good boy. I usually play the stupid games I buy for full price for this podcast. That one, I just didn't. And I don't know why. I got through fucking FF16, and I technically got that on a discount because I used points. I didn't even pay full price.
I mean,
anyway.
You also bought Octopath 2, and you're never going to play that.
Hell yeah, bro. It's got some great box art, though. That was worth it.
It really does.
Stare at that box art. Yeah, I have a couple just to get us over the finish line because Kyle couldn't finish us off. It's fine. Full Throttle. I played that earlier this year, and it's good. It's a Tim Schafer the Double Fine remaster port thingy-majig of a Lucasfilm game that he made back when he was at Lucasfilm. It's good. It's like a 90s point and click. It's about a biker gang that gets hired to it's about a biker gang that gets hired to escort this CEO across state, basically, and things go awry, and it's up to you to figure it out. And it's really funny, and it's really clever. It has a really good voice cast. I know Mark Hamill is one of the characters in it.
Sick.
So it's
my
going to be a good
favorite
time.
Jedi.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill?
His character.
No.
But yeah, it's just a really fun game. If you like the stupid kind of point and click adventure games where you have to go out of your way to solve ridiculous puzzles in obscene ways that you don't think will...
The most video gamey nonsense.
Yeah, it's a bizarre game. Like I said, I mentioned it before, how it was like you have to open a gate, and instead of actually opening the gate, the actual solution was to lock the gate so that the gate didn't work, so that you could climb up the rope that would usually pull the gate up. Stupid things like that, just like kind of point and click brain that you have to kind of just figure it out. And I like those kind of games. I mentioned Broken Age in the past. I like these kinds of weird games, so it's definitely worth your time. And it's also really short compared to other ones, whereas something like Broken Age is like 12 hours. This was like 2-3 hours. It's a pretty short one.
Nice.
So if you're into that kind of thing, go for it. And to round us out, because I did say 12, so we will do 12, because I love to commit to the bit. I did replay it on Vita recently. We've talked about how fab this game is before. Gravity Rush. Go play Gravity Rush. It's great. I played the Vita version earlier this year, and it turns out a game that got ported from PS Vita to PS4 is also great on its original console.
I played the Vita version of this one. It was neat.
It's really good. The only criticism I have is with motion controls. It's a lot better when the controller's in motion and the screen's still static in comparison to Gravity Rush, because you have a lot of problems. I don't have my Vita on me, so I'll use my phone as an example. If you're twisting like this, it's really hard to keep an eye on the screen.
Yeah, it's hard to know what you're doing.
Especially when you're trying to get it into a really specific angle. Sometimes you're going like that, and you're like, and you just don't know what to do.
I'm using tilt controls.
Yeah. But no, it's a fantastic little game. Like I say, if you haven't played Gravity Rush, go play Gravity Rush. It's a shame that Japan Studio is dead and we'll never see anything ever again. But
because PlayStation slowly killing all the fun.
Hates fun.
That exists in them.
It's true. But it's
if Insomniac wasn't making half of their catalog, they would probably be next. Because they are fun, and PlayStation hates fun.
It is true. But no, definitely play it if you haven't. It's great. It's got a great soundtrack to it. I think there's 1 and 2. Play 1 first, and then if you like 1, then head on over to 2 and see what you think about it. Because personally, I think 1's better, because I think it's shorter. So I think it's more refined.
I never finished
experience.
2.
It's really long. 2's like twice the length.
I think I got like 3 or 4 chapters in.
Yeah, I still like 2. Don't get me wrong, but I think 1 is more refined experience. But
I think my mistake was playing 2 pretty close to finishing 1.
I did the exact same thing. I played them back to back, and I regretted it heavily.
Yeah.
So if you do like 1 and you want to go and carry on and play 2, maybe wait a couple of months. Don't do what I did. It's like Yakuza. Like I spoke about Yakuza earlier. Take a break between games, because they can get kind of samey. But still a good game, nonetheless. And hey, with that, there you go. That's 12 games from our backlogs that you should play, or not, if you hate Sonic, which is 90% of the population. Congratulations. It's just that 10%, they're too damn vocal. If we shut them up. It just always makes me laugh, because I saw the Sega earnings report earlier this week as well, and it's always like, it was like, what are the top 4 brands for Sega? And it's like Sonic, Persona, Yakuza, and Total War. Those are like the 4 big
Total
Sega.
War.
Yeah. And it's like, it always makes me laugh, because it's like the gaps between the gap between Sonic and Persona is double. And it's like, where are these Sonic fans? And why are they all on Twitter?
Well, sometimes it's not even like devoted fans of the series. Like some people are just, like they recognize Sonic from because the 90s and they're like, oh yeah, the good old days.
Yeah, here's the thing though, is I recognize him as well, but it's like, still don't want to play it. Like Sonic Frontiers not look interesting in the slightest.
But they did have that one really good song.
They did have really good music in that game.
Sonic
That's one thing I'll always
music.
give Sonic. No matter how mid the quality is of those games, soundtracks always own.
Yeah, always the good stuff.
Yeah. But hey, let's wrap it up here anyway, because I'm tired. I'm still jet lagged. I'm sorry. We need to rest up. I'm dying in here, but it's fine. All links are in the description because the on-screen isn't working. So yeah, go and check us out on Twitter if you want to keep up to date with us. I'll give it one more try. Nothing. Don't want to be a part of it today. I'm sorry. It is what it is, I guess. But maybe next week. Maybe next week. It's fine. But yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at Gamers Only if you want to keep up to date with when we release new episodes and all that jazz as well. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say, really. Do you guys have anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, not especially. I think
no, I'm good.
Everything.
Fair enough. There we go.
Nothing funny, no.
Nothing funny.
Or
no
relevant,
quips,
no.
No gifts, no gaffs. Okay. Well, fine then. We'll wrap it up. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much for listening / watching. We'll be back next week with who knows what. We'll find out, I guess. But until then, have an awesome week. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.
Toodaloo.